You won't have to see like, know just what it feels like. Come over and dance with me. Oh, baby. Won't you come over and dance with me? Come over and dance with me. Come over and dance with me. Oh, baby. I see you over there sitting in the corner.
Okay, folks, welcome back to yet another exciting episode of L.A. Jackson's Wall of Fame. And like I promised you, we had a week full of great artists. On Monday, we had the incomparable Sharon Brown, Miss I Specialize in Love. Yesterday, we had Tayshawn, the first R&B artist signed to Def Jam / Original Black Recordings. And today, we've got my neighbor, the one, the only, Mr. Tony Terry. How you doing, Mr. Tony Terry?
What's going on, LA? How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm doing fine and even better now that I'm talking with you. We've got a long, rich history. We go back like 25 years. Did you know that we getting old, bro?
Almost to the beginning, man.
But, man, I tell you, it's been great. I was looking at your bio again as if I didn't know it all already, but just wanted to make sure I got everything. And, again, I forgot all about Lovey Dovey. That was a great song, and we're going to play a couple of your songs today. But let's just start from the beginning, man. How did you get your start in the business?
Oh, wow. Let me see if I can even remember that far back. Because it's been a long time. It's been like 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
How could I know how I started? Actually, I was living in New York. I grew up in D.C., but I moved to New York I had a great job in D.C. I was young, like 19. I was managing a restaurant.
Nice.
And I quit my job to pursue a theater opportunity. And I didn't have the job when I quit my job. But I quit my job believing that it was all going to work out.
Yeah.
And, I moved to New York, and within a week I had the job that I went to New York to get, and which was actually let me say that up, not New York but New Jersey, Crossroads at New Brunswick,
Okay.
New Brunswick, New Jersey.
That's close
Crossroads
enough.
Theater, which is a very famous theater there in New Brunswick, New Jersey. A lot of famous actors have come through there or even gotten their start there. And I worked there for a season, and then after the theater season was over, I moved on to New York, and I was probably there about maybe 6 weeks when I met the gentleman who would ultimately be my manager and producer, Ted Courier.
Yeah, Ted. I remember Ted. He was a nice guy.
Yeah, Ted produced some classic records. He produced Atomic Dog for George Clinton. He produced A Fly Girl for the Boogie Boys. He produced, if you're familiar with Sweet Sensation, they were a Latin hip-hop group in the 80s and 90s. Produced them, all their records. And,
wow.
And then me.
Well, let me ask you, just stopping to hover around Ted for a minute. Great guy, wonderful guy, but, I mean, is it common for, and he seems like kind of, laid back. How does a laid back white guy produce funky dance tracks on black artists?
That's that's very interesting that you would say that. Ted he is not all white. He's half white.
Oh, okay.
He's half white, and Ted's career started out as a radio DJ. I think he was one of the between Ted Courier and DJ Casanova, a.k.a. Robert Fowler, who lives here in Atlanta.
Okay.
They were like the first two DJs to do dance mixes on New York radio.
Wow.
They had DJ Casanova was on WBLS, and Ted Courier was on 92 KTU.
I remember them. Matter of fact, when KTU first came out, man, they just played like long mixes of songs without any commercials. I thought that was so cool, and I remember, what was his name? Paco. I am Paco on 92 WKTU.
Paco, yes, that's right. Well, Ted Courier was like the first guy to do that, and he understood what what dance music was about. He understood what moved the crowd and what would make a crowd go and sit down and take a break.
Mm-hmm.
He knew what songs to play to send the people to the bar. He knew what songs to play to make the people get on the dance floor.
Wow.
And my meeting, I believe that it was divine, because the night before, I was actually planning on going home back to D.C. because I had been in New York. I finished the reason that I was in New York, and that was to do the theater season in New Jersey. And then I had been actually living in New York for about 6 weeks, and I wasn't really having any luck. I mean, I had auditioned for the play Mama, I Want to Sing a few times.
Yeah.
I didn't get in. I ultimately did get in, but the first few times I auditioned, I didn't get in. And believe it or not, I was selling, I was selling vibrating pillows.
Oh, my God. Woo, did you do good doing that?
Door to door. Imagine knocking on somebody's door, a cold call in New York City, trying to sell a vibrating pillow.
Unbelievable.
So I did that for, I sold enough pillows to get me a bus ticket home.
I bet. Oh, I was just gonna say, I bet you got a bunch of girlfriends on that one too.
No, but I knew that wasn't my calling. But the thing that intrigued me, I went into that job knowing that I was going to work long enough to get a bus ticket home.
Okay.
And what I liked about it was that they paid you at the end of every day.
Oh, nice.
And so, I worked for 2 days and I quit.
Got that bus ticket.
Money. I got enough money for a bus ticket, and I quit. And I remember being sick. I might have had the flu or something, not feeling well. It was snowy and rainy, and I just decided, you know what, I'm going home. And one of my best friends at the time, he was he wasn't having it. He was like, nah, man, we gonna work this out. And so he was like, we going out tonight. We're gonna go check out this band. And I went to see the band. They were a great band, but they had this really corny singer. And after their set, I remember it was a club called the Danceteria. If you've been in New York, you probably remember.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And so we were downstairs, and Darryl introduced me to the bass player of the band. His name was William Spaceman Patterson. He did a lot of things. He put a lot of people on, but he was the MD for this band, and he was asking me how I felt about them. What did I think? And I told him I thought they were great.
Okay.
Except they were missing me. I was the only missing link. He was like, "Oh, really? Okay, all right. Let's see what you got right now." And I remember this place was so packed that there was not even room enough to fall down. It was shoulder to shoulder. And so I started singing for him right there. And I remember I sang a Luther Vandross piece. And Ted Curry, who I did not know at the time, was actually standing behind me. And he heard me singing for this guy and turned around and introduced himself and gave me his business card. Well, as fate would have it, I did not go home. I stayed, and I held on to his card for about 2 weeks. And I ultimately called him one night late. It might have been 1 o'clock in the morning. And I knew he was, a music producer and that he was working on some project. So I called him late. And I was living in New Jersey, back in New Jersey, in Newark, actually East Orange. So he was like, what's going on, man? What you doing? What you doing now? And he invited me to come to the studio like 1 o'clock in the morning, which I thought was a little weird, but so I went, and he was working on the Boogie Boys, and he had Parliament Funkadelic in the studio. Man, I was blown away. I mean, the Boogie Boys were there; they were hot. Parliament Funkadelic, they were legendary. And my boy was like, he was so high strung. He convinced Ted Currier to ask all of the guys, Parliament Funkadelic, Gary Scheider and Gary Cooper, all of those Funkadelic guys, to come out of the booth and to send me into the booth to see what I had.
Wow.
See what kind of skills I had. And, my boy was like, yo, if you hear this cat sing, you'll fire all of those cats. And I went into the booth and they started giving me things to do, and I was hitting them one take, just blowing them up. And sure enough, he let those guys go. He didn't use Funkadelic on that record. He used me. I was the one that cut all the vocals on that record. And what that record was the Boogie Boys' follow-up to A Fly Girl, which was called, I believe the album was called Survival of the Freshest. And that was the first record that I know of that incorporated singing hooks with rap verses.
Wow. I remember those days.
Yeah, it came out on Capitol Records. And then I was signed to Capitol Records initially. I never put out an album on Capitol Records, but I signed a 7-album deal with Capitol Records. They wanted me to sing Nat King Cole's catalog. I just couldn't see that. I couldn't figure how that was going to happen. And fortunately for me, it didn't seem so at the time, but the gentleman that signed me got fired. And if you know anything about record companies, especially in the 80s and 90s and prior to that, all ego-driven. He didn't sign me, so he didn't really care about me or, my existence there. He was really concerned about making his mark with the acts that he was signed.
Right.
So fortunately, that gentleman was rehired at Epic Records, and he convinced Epic to buy my contract from Capitol, and he convinced Capitol to sell my contract to Epic Records. And that's how I ended up on Epic Records. And my first record, She's Fly, came out maybe 6 months later. No one expected it to break, and it took off.
Wow.
And then they had to deal with me. At first, they weren't really trying to. They had to give me some attention. Imagine this: I'm signed to a label that has Michael Jackson, Luther Vandross, Tina Marie, Mariah Carey, she was on the Columbia side, and me, and a host of others, but they were nameless as far as I was concerned.
Man, those were some good times, though, man. I mean, all the music coming out, it was just a heck of a lot of music. And I remember at first when rap was first coming out, it was like the R&B was the verses, and then the hooks, and then at the breakdown was when the rap version came in. And isn't it funny how as things progressed, now you got the rap songs out with the rap verses and hooks, and actually rap verses, and then the hooks would feature an R&B artist.
That's right. That's right. And you know what's really, I just realized, and I'm talking about just realized, that all of the artists that I was signed on to Epic with, Michael, Tina Marie, they're all gone. They're all gone.
Wow, ain't that something? And it's just ironic that I was there, and for my whole career, I ended up marketing records for both Columbia and Epic, but when you move out of the marketing area, you end up working either Columbia Records or Epic Records. But for my whole career, I ended up working not only Columbia and Epic, but also Def Jam. And I was also looking at your bio, man, and I noticed when you mentioned Michael Jackson that you worked on a play called Sisterella, which was co-produced by Michael Jackson. How did that all come about?
Yeah, well, Sisterella was the urban Cinderella story.
Oh, okay.
And it also co-starred Rain Pryor, Richard Pryor's daughter.
Right.
Yeah, and we workshopped the show. It did actually ultimately go on tour, but Mr. Jackson would come in. He would slip in to the theater after the show would start. He'd be in disguise, and he'd sit in the back, and he would leave right before the show was over. And we knew that he was in the building, but we never saw him face to face.
Okay.
We never saw him face to face, and the production was A1. I mean, Michael Jackson had his hand on it, so the money was right, the set was right, the costumes were right, everything about the show was right. And for me, unfortunately, this is where the dark side comes in, because that was around the time that I began to start losing my way.
Wow.
Actually, I started I had started using illicit drugs, and it really wasn't. I thought it was a good time, but it really wasn't.
That happens to a lot of people, though, man. Don't even beat yourself up about that, man. I mean, everybody has their dark periods, I think, and if they don't, then they still have yet to grow. But I think that ultimately, by slipping into dark times, I know I had a rough time when my father was dying around the late 90s and early 2000s. So don't kick yourself in the butt about that, man. Use that as a fuel to just keep on going. And I know you know this, man, because you're doing good, man.
I actually, I use it. My experiences. I talk about them. One, because the more I talk about it, the further it distances me from what that was.
Exactly.
And the blessing for me is that I came out on the other side, but unscathed, pretty much. And so, but I do recognize what was happening and what did happen, and I give God the glory because things with regard to that are wonderful.
Right, and you're still above ground.
Yeah, man, absolutely. But it was a fun time. It was a fun show, and Michael Jackson had his hand all over it, which made it a very important piece at the time.
Yeah, and amazingly, you also were the Tin Man in The Wiz, and Michael Jackson was a part of The Wiz as well.
I was, man. And listen, check out this cast. I was the Tin Man. Grace Jones was Eveline.
What?
Peebo Bryson was The Wiz.
Peebo.
CeCe Peniston was Glenda the Good Witch.
Oh, my goodness.
It was an amazing cast, amazing cast, and we were touring. We were on the road, and we got into a city, I believe it was like Oakland, the Oakland area, and sold out shows. I mean, we sold out. We were just packing them in Detroit, New York, L.A., San Francisco, and we got to the San Francisco Bay Area, and we were doing a matinee show. And Grace Jones as Eveline was, how shall I say? I'm going to say probably NC-17.
Wow.
She had on a dog collar with spikes on, and she had, her minions were, guys like these built guys with leather on with dog chains on, and so the kids, were horrified. The children were horrified. They came out. She came out for a matinee performance, and the kids were screaming like they were in tears. They were crying. They were horrified. They shut us down.
What? Just because of that?
They shut us down because of that, because The Wiz is supposed to be a family show.
Unbelievable. Well, I tell you what, let's take a quick break and fly on over to your song, She's Fly. Why don't you go on and set that one up, bro? How did that come about?
Oh, She's Fly. Check this out. I had done my whole album for Epic, my first album, and I was walking down the street in New York, and an old high school friend of mine, I ran into him, and we were chopping it up, and I'm asking him, so what is he doing? And he's dabbling in songwriting. He was an actor, still is an actor. Dabbling in songwriting, and he had a song called She's Fly. And so it was the last song that I recorded for the album. I had the flu, and so my voice was very nasally and I was super congested. And I started recording the song, and I go, "Hey, you got me jumping, you beautiful body," and I stuttered with the beautiful body, beautiful body, and my dad was like, "Oh no, we are keeping that, we're keeping it," and that's how that happened.
Unbelievable. Well, let's check it out, man. She's Fly, and that wasn't no sampling or cutting. That was actually Tony Terry stuttering.
Absolutely.
Funky. to drive up in a Cadillac. Tell me, baby, show you right. What's up like that?
She's fine, you're fine, and fresh, and fresh. The girl is truly there. Girl, won't you be mine? She's so fine and fresh. That girl's the best. Show you right.
And I wanna be your man.
Girl, don't be shy. 'Cause I'm not your average guy. Please give me your hand. 'Cause I wanna be your man. She's so fine and fresh. She's She's fine and fresh. Oh, I gotta run and tell somebody. And I'm gonna make you mine. And fresh. And girls, please be I said you're so fine and you're so fresh.
Man, I just can't get enough of that song. That is, dude, that's classic Tony Terry right there, dude. That, you know, that song is just gonna, you know, like a couple of your other songs, they're just gonna live on forever, man. And I believe that the proof of the pudding is gonna be, if someone hasn't done it yet, we're gonna see a couple remakes from time to time jump off with that song, I believe.
Well, I've heard like parts of She's Fly sampled in other records. Never, you know, the verse or the hook, but like, because there are long musical breaks in that record.
Mm-hmm. That was when
And
they
I've
were still giving the music away, so to speak.
Yeah. And so I've heard loops of it. I've heard pieces of it in other songs over the years.
Great song, man. So let's pick back up, man. I mean, back in those good old days, you know, it seemed like just about every song was great. Instead of now, these days, it seems like you got to hear a song 10 million times just to get used to it. But how do you feel about the business back then versus how it is now?
Well, I think the playing field is actually leveled now. With regard to with regard to having access to the world. I mean, you know, you got a laptop, you got the world at your fingertips, pretty much.
Yes,
and
you do.
You know, with regard to that, you have as much access to the world as any record label would.
That's true.
The difference is, however, I do believe it comes down to marketing, because while you do have access to the world, you have to have, because everybody has access to the world now, you have, you know, what separates you from everyone else.
Right.
And generally, advertising and promotion. How do I know that your product is there? Well, you got to spend money with advertising. But I do think that, you know, and with regard to how much money one can make, I think that I think that the circumstances or the odds are certainly in favor of the artist if they set it up right and take care of business. Because, you know, if you can do your own marketing and promotions, or, you know, have your own infrastructure, then all that money is coming back to you and your business,
Straight
as opposed
to you.
to
That's
going
right.
to the record company and then, you know, being eaten up before, you know, because if the record company gives you an advance. Imagine this, back in that time, in the 80s, when I first started recording, I was recording at Unique Recording on 47th and 7th
I
Avenue.
remember them.
Yeah, and a session would be $200 to $300, even $400 an hour.
An hour? I thought that was for the session. Oh my God! So they were
an hour, and that depended on which engineer you had.
Oh my
and
God!
So you're blocking 8-hour sessions, or in our case, we blocked sessions for, we blocked the entire studio for a week. Sometimes we blocked the entire studio for 2 weeks. And, so that adds up. So those for $300, $400, $500,000 recording budgets that we would get would certainly be used up. And not only that, the record company wanted all that money back before they paid you a dime.
Wow. Oh, man, that's heavy duty. That is heavy duty.
Absolutely.
But, man, I tell you what, so now with technology, you
can make a record in your bedroom.
Yeah, in your bedroom, so that's, again, it's evened up the playing field, and, your music productions are just as good as the top dogs over there, man, and it's just kind of crazy, man. Well, what made you decide to move to Atlanta now? Because, we've been running in similar circles for a while. I've seen you at the Morosa Mansion party. We were at that boat cruise with Rose and Raymond last Saturday, and, man, you just tore them up with you, and we're going to play that later. But what was participating?
I sat in the chair and let them have it.
Yes, you did. You didn't get up. I videotaped that on my phone, on my camera, man. I got to get that video to you so you can check it out. But it was great.
Oh yeah, thank you, brother. I didn't want to come to Atlanta, man. I was living in Las Vegas and loving it. And my wife got sick. We have a beautiful son, and then pretty soon after giving birth to him, she developed fibromyalgia.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And pretty severely. And so, I travel a lot, quite a bit, and she wanted to, be near some people who loved and cared about her. Her family's here in Atlanta. So we came here, and we came here to be near her family so that she'd have a support system when I was not around. And of course, now she wants to go back to Vegas. She was just talking about, she's like, we got to go. And because at the time, we didn't even really understand what fibromyalgia was. My son is 6 now, so she's been dealing with the condition for about 5.5 years. And we didn't, it took us a minute to even understand fully what was happening. And then we also didn't understand that the climate that we were living in Las Vegas was really ideal for her and anyone else that, had lived with fibromyalgia. Warm, dry climate is probably the best place to live because the coldness affects your condition, moisture affects your condition. Of course, it rains and gets cold here in Georgia. And that has been a pretty big deal here for her. And so now we're considering moving back to Vegas or to someplace warm that is consistently warm.
Okay, I feel that, man. I mean, I ran into a couple of great musicians that are based out there, and that's pretty close to Los Angeles too. So you could zip back and forth between Vegas, Las Vegas, and stuff like that. I mean, Los Angeles and stuff. Yeah.
4-hour drive. 45-minute flight. You can get back and forth and do your thing. So we're definitely considering it. But now I love Atlanta. I got my social circles here. My management team is here.
Yeah, big up to Tony Sanders, man.
Yeah.
Big up to Tony Sanders. And also, I know another time I was doing some audio-visual work, and I was doing a spotlight gig down at the Georgia International Convention Center, and boom, I heard Tony Terry was performing tonight. I'm like, get the heck out of here, man. I used to market and promote Tony Terry, and you were doing backgrounds for Roberta Flack. How did that work out?
I volunteered my background services for her, because really my gig with Roberta was to sing the duets with her.
Okay.
And so I was really more of a special guest, an unannounced special guest.
Okay.
And I just kind of figured I'm here. Can you imagine singing on stage with Roberta Flack?
I can't. I mean, she's just a classic. When I was a little kid in the early 70s, I remember hearing her on the radio.
Well, when I was in the 7th grade in junior high school, I sung The Closer I Get to You with this girl that I went to junior high school with in the talent show. And we won. And so as a kid, I sung that song, and then to grow up, and to get the call from Roberta that she requested my presence in New York, and she wanted me to go on the road with her, I was blown away.
Absolutely.
Interestingly enough, me and Roberta didn't get along.
Get out of here. But I heard in general that a lot of people didn't get along. So, I don't know if she was difficult. And I don't know why. I always looked at Roberta Flack and Barbara Streisand as mirror images of each other. And ironically, Barbara was on Columbia. I had to market and promote a couple of her records. But ironically, I heard that they were both very difficult artists to get along with. I don't know if that's true. I never really dealt directly with them.
I never worked with Miss Streisand, but I worked with Roberta for 5 years, 5.5 years actually, and musically, it was probably one of the highlights of my career because she's so legendary, and that music is timeless. And the closer I get to you, Tonight I Celebrate, My Love, and You Are My Heaven, and all these wonderful duets that she did with Donny Hathaway and Peabo Bryson. I sang all of them with her. And I would just be sitting over there off to the side of her, mesmerized. I found myself often getting caught up in the magic of Roberta Flack. But personally, off the stage, and when we sang together, when we stood and sang together, it was magical. I mean, I've even had people around the world ask us if we had something going on, if there was something happening between us, because it was so genuine. And I do have a genuine affinity for her professionally and for the music. We just didn't click personally.
Wow.
There, I said it. Now the world knows.
Well, that's okay. Things happen. I mean, something bigger to me than even that was that night we had that Morosa Mansion party down over in Decatur, and you were jamming and cutting it up and acting a fool and pulling your shirt off, and then you turned around and your pastor was right there.
Oh, wasn't that something, man? I was
That
clowning
was funny.
like you wouldn't believe, and she was standing right on the side of the stage.
That was funny. So that's hilarious. So do you find that whether it's Atlanta or what have you, but since you're here, we'll just say Atlanta, do you find that no matter where you go, you run into someone that's a part of your personal life?
Not everywhere, but I do. My family is so large too. I mean, the Terrys and the other side of my family, my mother's side of the family, it's a lot of them, and they're spread out all over the country. And so pretty much, unless we're in the Dakotas, North or South Dakota, where there's just not a lot of us, in Iowa area, but pretty much generally, I have relatives in every city that we go to. So somebody is coming out to say hi, or,
That's cool, man. That's just wonderful, man. I tell you what, a lot of people would just kill to have a career like you've had, man. I mean, it's very colorful. And not only just the music, man. I was on your Facebook page scrolling down, and you're like me, man. And again, you answered part of this question earlier in the interview when you were talking about you were working at a restaurant. But I see you've got a great affinity for food, and I'm looking at all this beautiful food on your page. You've got these high protein blueberry pancakes.
Yeah.
You got lemon.
And I've been clowning on my Facebook page too. I've been clowning on my. So if you scroll down, you see me clowning on my Facebook page.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it.
I actually sent out a blast on my Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and I asked all of my fans that if they have a picture of me or a picture of us together to send it in.
Wow.
And so they've been sending in pictures of, that go as far back as high school. And I've been posting them on my page, too. I'm actually going to create a book of fan moments.
Man, well, I got one I got to send in to you, and it's a picture of you at the very first Black Expo right here in Atlanta.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. Please send that to me, bro.
Okay, a matter of fact, I know I posted it on my Facebook long time ago. I'll find it. If not, I'll dig through the archives and find it. But dude, you were just fresh out of the box, off the rip. That confidence just soothed all through you, man. You were looking, and you still look good, man. How do you manage to keep up? I mean, right now I'm looking at a picture of this guy doing curls. So on your page. So I assume that you're into working out too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. I'm a man of a particular age, and
I call myself the Jamaica caveman.
The Jamaica caveman.
Because I was born in Jamaica and grew up here, but I'm still very old school. So yeah, I think that's fitting for me.
Yeah, I think it's just important to just be healthy and try to be as fit as you can. I mean, it's not easy being on the road, and you got 2, 3, 4 shows, 5 shows lined up back to back.
Yep.
And you go at each one of them, you put 100% in, and so in order to maintain that level, you got to take care of yourself, dude. I don't want to say how old I really am, so I'm going to say I'm 30 something.
Yeah, I go with that.
Yeah,
I go with that.
Just staying, at in your A game mode requires that you get rest, you stay hydrated, can't be partying every night. Your voice is,
That's your temple.
Me, it's my livelihood. So,
that's right.
If I'm hoarse and can't sing because I was out all night partying and drinking the night before, then I'm doing the people who might have, bought a ticket to come see me, and you're paying anywhere from 10 to, in some cases, $50, $60, $75 for a ticket.
You mean you're not doing the R. Kelly? You're not charging $1,000 a ticket in some cases?
I haven't, but maybe I might need to take a page out of R. Kelly's book. No, I mean, we try to keep the ticket prices reasonable.
That's
and,
good.
In some places I don't really have control. Like when we play play arenas, I don't really have control of what the ticket price is because I'm probably, in a part of the bill, and it's not necessarily my show per se. So we don't set the ticket prices. But I know that they can. I know that I played at the American Airlines Arena in Dallas with Patti LaBelle and Heads of State, and I think those tickets were $150.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're paying $150 per ticket, you got a date with you. That's $300. You're going to eat. You're spending at least $100 if you're going someplace decent. $150. That's $450. When you have a couple of cocktails, you could easily spend $500 for a night out.
That's
so
for sure.
You want, as the performer, my charge is to be on top of my game, because if you spend $500 and hanging out that night, you ain't trying to hear that, the person you're trying to see got a sore throat because he was partying last night.
Exactly. Well, I just want to mention to you that I pay homage to you in my musicology book. We've got the first one out of the series, Musicology 2101. I gave you a copy of it on the boat last Saturday. But I hope you started reading it. If not, maybe you will.
It's actually on the passenger side of my vehicle, so when I'm not driving, I can read it.
Oh, great. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks. But, I do a profile on you in either the second book or the third book where I start moving forward in time, because this first book focuses more on the early beginnings and everything. But as we move up to modern times, I start focusing on some of the great, fabulous artists. And I just want to make sure that you lived on forever in my book somewhere. So I just had to, do a Tony Terry profile in there.
I appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, man. No problem at all, man. No problem. So let me ask you, are you, I know you mentioned that you did a couple of plays and stuff like that. Are you looking at continuing doing plays? You looking at moving into the movie or film area at all down the line?
Yeah, especially if I move out to, Vegas and do the LA thing, I'm probably going to focus on that. And I haven't really been focusing on doing film and television, but I think now is probably a good time to start doing that. If the right thing comes along to do, then I'm probably going to do it. And with regard to theater, I think the same is true, because there's so much junk out there like I get called all the time to do, a play here and a play in this market and a play in that market, and I just stopped doing them because, I don't want to decrease my value to the people that would pay, $50, $60, $75 to come see me in concert to do a mediocre play.
Right, exactly. You want to maintain that quality factor.
Yeah, man. If it's not spectacular, I can't be down with it.
Well, I tell you one thing, if you decide to move on out to the West Coast, man, because just like what we were talking about with how making music in your bedroom or your living room has become so easy and affordable and high quality, I spoke with this cat out west. He's in Los Angeles named Reggie Cook, and I definitely want to hook you up with him because he told me that the same exact thing that happened with the music industry as far as production is concerned, that's about to happen with film and television now. So all of this affordable software that people can do with their camcorders, cameras, iPhones, all of that's being, very, very readily available to people. So we're going to start seeing a lot more programming, a lot more films, a lot more TV shows that are done by, the little guys. So I definitely want you to hook up with him, and maybe you can find some opportunities with him as well as, doing your own thing.
Always looking for great opportunities. Yes,
Cool.
sir.
Cool, man. Because I tell you what, I think, and I don't know if you have a song called "The Best Is Yet to Come," but I think that your best is still yet to come, despite the fact that you got some great songs. And on that note, let's go on to a real nostalgic song that you put out. It just reminded me of the songs from the 50s that my folks used to listen to, called "Forever Yours." Why don't you set that one up?
Forever Yours was written by Gary Henry and, of course, produced by Ted Currier. And it was one of my least favorites.
Least favorites? Why?
It's one of my least favorites. I just never felt like I nailed it. And I always felt like I could go back and do it again. If I give one more performance, then it's going to be the one. But Ted decided that the one we got was it. And I always felt gypped with that song. I always felt like I never got a chance to present that song the way I really wanted to. But it worked, it worked. And a lot of people love it.
Okay, well, I still like it. So on that note, let's check out "Forever Yours."
Forever yours. forever yours.
Man, Tony, I hate to disagree with you, man, but I just got to disagree. I think, if you didn't nail it, you came darn close to doing it, brother.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Great song, man. I tell you, again, man, the songs that you've chosen to do, and I notice a common theme, I guess outside of, say, Lovey Dovey and She's Fly, but a common theme you have is, talking about relationships, love, and that kind of keeps a recurring theme going. Is that something that you intentionally set out to do, was to have these kind of songs?
Well, I think that in the beginning, I wasn't sure what I was going to be doing. What kind of songs ultimately it was, that were going to stick. But those are the songs that caught on. Because my first two albums were kind of a mixed bag of song ideas, and, different kinds of things. But it was the love songs that clicked.
Okay. And continue to do, and of course we know love songs are, always high up on the ticket there, up on the totem pole as far as subject matter for songs. Have you lived any of the things that you talk about, or are you just sitting right from a conceptual perspective?
That's really a good question. I try to keep my songs rooted in reality.
Okay.
I just do. I mean, I'm probably the kind of writer that writes when I'm going through something, whether it's good or bad. But for me to just sit down and make up something, I'm not saying I can't do it, and I have done it, but it's not necessarily my MO.
Okay. That's real interesting, man, because a lot of things I write about in my book, I guess I could have fluffed a lot of stuff, but I did a lot of research, and I just blended that research with actual stuff that I lived through, whether it was on the personal side or from working at Sony Music. And
right.
Did you know I took a tour of the plant out there in Carrollton, which is an hour west of Georgia. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a huge building, and they make the records, tapes, and they made the records, tapes, and CDs from raw materials. And I would have never expected that entire operation to be shut down. It's like a big empty warehouse now.
Wow. I can imagine. That during its heyday, that it was a massive operation.
Massive.
Because imagine hundreds of records a week come out.
Yeah, dude, they had the shipping docks were like, they had dozens of docks for the trucks to pull up and load and unload.
Yeah, man. And what's interesting is that I think that to some degree, like I've noticed that a lot of records are coming out now. Actual vinyl.
Yeah. A resurgence. I'm getting regular emails from a friend of mine. He's got some kind of company that does reissues and stuff like that. And I don't know what the connection is, but it just seems like most of them are records from Columbia and Epic.
Oh, that's interesting. I remember when we would get, I'm not sure where they would come from, but, before we would send our records to, before we would turn them in to the label, we would send them off to get test pressings.
Okay.
And then the test pressing would come back, and you could only play the test pressing maybe 4 or 5 times before it wasn't usable again. But we were able to listen to the record to see what it was going to sound like when it was done. I thought that process was very interesting.
Okay. Yeah, man. It's just I remember coming out of the Jamaican culture. A lot of times they did I forget what they like, dub records or dub plates or something like that, and they would just, when they were doing the final mix in the studio, they would also cut directly to a record and run straight out to dance halls and clubs and to those trucks that played music, those mobile trucks, and take that record straight on out and play it. And of course they probably had to cut a couple copies of it because, again, like you said, after they played a couple times, they just kind of wore out.
Yeah.
But I guess now, these days, I guess they just stick it onto a flash drive and run on out and plug it in through the USB, huh?
I've had problems with that, where I was working with some producers, and they thought, oh, this is it right here. And then they take the session, or, do a mix down and take it straight to the club. I don't really like that. I mean, I can understand what their motivation is. They're excited and they think the record is a hit and stuff. But I like to make sure that we got it the way it's supposed to be, and then we let it loose on the public, on the world. But take it out before it's done. I kind of have a little bit of issue with that.
Okay, I got you. So listen, while you're focused on your career, and I know you're definitely have a plan with what you're doing there with your singing and everything and acting, but have you ever thought about other things like producing other artists or groups or writing for other people?
Yeah, actually, I'm working on producing. I just produced an inspirational artist a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, I do and would.
Okay.
I'm not producing a whole lot of acts, but the ones that I do are things that I feel really strongly about and want to be involved in.
That's good, man. That's good. So let's go back to our mutual friend Tony Sanders. I know I met him at the Driven Music Conference, a conference I went to a couple years ago, and I think we were friends. I was introduced to him by my publicist, Lynn Kay. Big shout outs to Lynn Kay. But how did you meet Tony? I mean, he's like the card he gave me said manager to the stars.
I met Tony Sanders when he came to the studio that I was working in, really to pitch his son as a producer.
Okay.
I didn't think his son was ready. I think he's ready now.
Okay.
But he wasn't. This was about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And he wasn't. And me and Tony just clicked. And I had recently let my manager go. And I think that integrity and humility and it plays it goes a long way. Because there's so many people in the business that lack character,
shady,
are not humble, and that can be just low down snakes in the grass, so to speak. And rarely do you find people that are genuine and have good intentions and that are trustworthy. And so when you find those people. At least I do.
Hold on to him.
Yeah. And so I thought Tony was a good guy, and and so I asked him to take on the responsibilities of being my manager for what I thought was just going to be a few months until I signed on to someone else, and it's been 4 years.
Nice.
And actually, I did just sign. I kept Tony on, but I just signed with Frank Taylor.
Okay.
Here for management here in Atlanta. Frank owns Acoustics Jazz Restaurant and Lounge downtown Atlanta.
Okay.
Really good guy, smart business guy, certainly focused, and I believe that he's going to play a big part in taking my career to the next level.
That's great, man. Now, so I'm curious on the salutation when you and Tony are talking. Do you call up each other and say, "Hey, Tony, this is Tony"?
I never identify myself with my name because he recognizes it. I just go, I just generally go into whatever it is I want to talk about.
Then
we know each other now, so he knows. Even if I'm leaving him a voicemail, I don't say, "Hey, this is Tony." I just say whatever it is I have to say. I like if I want him to call me back, and his voicemail comes on, I'll just say, "Call me back."
Yeah.
He knows who it is.
It's funny because I've got, and I hope you're free this Saturday night, but I know you're busy and might not be able to make it, but I'm having a book signing party this weekend at Blitz Sports Bar and Grill down on Highway 85 in Riverdale, and a gentleman who's been hosting a few of the Morosa parties named Jay Jackson with Ustream Radio, big up to Jay. He's going to be hosting this party, and, we call each other my brother from another mother, and when we call each other, say, "Hey, Mr. Jackson, this is Mr. Jackson." It's funny, man.
Well, hopefully I can come this weekend. I'm not really sure what's happening. I think I have a gig this weekend, but I'm
Okay.
not 100%.
I'll throw something up on your page, and if you can make it, fine. Love to have you, man. I'm gonna, have my book, of course, and also, get anybody that buys my book will get a free copy of the Exposure 3 CD featuring about 19 different artists that I'm working with, artists that I think are really, really talented. And hopefully on that book that I put out, the musicology book that has the profile on you, I know I'll be doing another Exposure CD with that, and hopefully I might be able to get a track featuring you and throw on there as well.
It's certainly possible, bro.
We'll see what's up with that, man. Well, while we're here and talking, let's go on into the definitive Tony Terry song. I don't know. Do you feel that was your best piece of work with you?
With you, I knew it was a special song from the very beginning, and I knew that it was going to make a mark. I really did, because before, like when I heard the song the first time, I knew that I wanted to record it before it was even finished playing.
Wow.
I got excited. My hands got sweaty. I just knew that I had to record that song.
Was it the changes in it? Was it the basic melody? Was it the hook?
I think it was the lyric and the melody. It was really simple. It seemed very honest, and I knew that it had been written because the guy that wrote it was a friend of mine.
Okay.
And I knew that he wrote it from an insightful place, an internal place. It came from a real place for him, and so I was able to connect with the lyric and melody, interestingly enough, on a spiritual level. And I knew that it was going to affect people spiritually. I knew it was going to affect people like on that emotional level.
And it does.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, 20 years later, I can look on YouTube and I'll see a comment like that was just like hours old. Pretty much every time I go on, I just go on to see how many people have looked at it, or what the comments are. Even still, I do that, and comments are fresh. They're new, like really recent, and they're consistent. Like people are always still talking about that song and what it means to them, and that is very humbling, because I mean, how many people have music that becomes a part of the fabric of people's lives?
That's right. And I personally, I believe a whole generation of babies were made off that song.
Dude, and I tell you, like one time I was in concert and this lady went into labor. She was very, 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 very pregnant. And she went into labor and delivered. She had twin boys, and she named them after me, Tony and Terry.
Wow. How do you like that? Two first names.
That's the best.
That's incredible.
Just don't come after me for no child support. You know what I'm talking about?
That is something, man. Tony and Terry. Well, here we go. Let's check out With You. I don't know how many records this sold, how many times it was viewed on YouTube or whatever, but it does that same thing it does to me the first time I heard it umpteen years ago. Let's check it out.
Yeah, just like that.
Makes me laugh and smile and sing to you. When I'm with you, I feel so free. I feel that love is going to take control of me. When I'm with you, everything's alright when I'm with you. It's for real what I feel. It's okay. Every day, honey, it's so right now when I'm with you. Nobody but you. Honey, I love you.
Yeah, man. That is a classic song, and congratulations to you on it. It's not often that an artist can release a song that is just such a highly regarded piece of work, but you nailed it. I think it couldn't have been done any better, and that song's just going to live on forever, as is your name.
Well, I'm certainly proud of With You. You know, there's a very interesting story that surrounds With You. When it came time to release that song as the single, I remember getting a phone call from the president of Epic, Dave Glue.
Dave Glue, I remember Dave, yeah.
Yeah, and he called me in for a meeting to tell me to strongly suggest that I reconsider what my single choice was going to be. And he said, and I quote, "Only Stevie Wonder could do a song like this and get away with it."
Wow.
And I just didn't agree with him. In fact, I don't even think I was even paying attention. I heard that statement because I thought it was so profound.
Mm-hmm.
But all the other things that he was saying about the song, I honestly don't remember because it wasn't good. It was all negative.
Wow.
Negative. And at the end of whatever he was saying, I was just like, nope.
Why would that? I mean, is it just
I'm
a
doing
high
it. And
level?
So, look, check this out. And so I guess they were like, okay, well, we'll show him. And so they released With You quite unconventionally. They released it as a white label through radio. And, you know, at that time we had promotions guys that would actually service radio with records.
Mm-hmm.
So this particular record from Epic had a plain label on it. No information.
Wow.
Didn't have my name on it.
That's terrible.
It didn't have anything on it. You know, they told them, you know, the promotions guys, you know, this is the new Tony Terry record, and we want y'all to play it. And I don't remember what market that actually broke With You, but it started very, very slowly. And, you know, the record company had all but turned their backs on it and walked away, and it just grew slowly, more slowly than a record would grow. I mean, because it had all the indicators initially that it wasn't going to work. But it was slow in its incline, or its, you know, and its walk up the charts. And then it was when I got a call from Anita Baker, and she ultimately sent me money to shoot the video. Anita Baker produced the video for With You.
Nice. And
it wasn't until that happened, which obviously increased the visibility of the song, gave the song a face, that it just took off. You know, and then it wouldn't go away. It stayed around, and it lived, and it lived, and it lived. And of course, by the time it was in the top 5, the record company was like, "Oh, we knew that this was a hit record from out of the gate, and
wow.
You know, we were very impressed with the artist." And you know, I was like, and I'm watching this, and you know, and I couldn't really, you know, you don't want to buck the system because
exactly.
promoting your record. So I couldn't say, "Y'all lying, I hated this record." But you know, I had strong feelings about that because I knew that they didn't like the record, and they, in fact, had tried to convince me to not even use it.
Unbelievable.
And it ended up being one of my biggest records.
One of the biggest records of all times. Well, hey, I was looking at your Facebook page again, and I know you're a world traveler and been everywhere, but I'm looking, and I'm just trying to picture a black man in Baghdad. You know, what was that story, man? You went to Baghdad?
Oh, wow. I went to Baghdad, Iraq, and it was, you know, to perform for the troops.
Yeah, I see you in a Black Hawk helicopter.
Yeah, somehow we were able to get security clearance, and so I went. I've got to actually put my hands on and touch, places where Saddam had bombed. There was an American palace there, and he bombed it. And I got to go inside that place where they opened up the gates, which were padlocked, and not even like your typical soldier could go or had ever been inside. But we got clearance and were able to go inside, and we actually stayed in one of Saddam Hussein's palaces, and it was an amazing experience. I got to see some things that a lot of people would not even hear about, let alone get an opportunity to see. Saddam was a monster, and some of the things that he did, some of the atrocities that he committed, and he was an insidious person. He meant no good, even for his own people. He raped children.
Oh my God.
What Saddam believed was that any indiscretion, because in the Muslim faith, even alcohol is not tolerated.
Wow.
0 tolerance, even in the country. And so when we were there, soldiers were sent home and their careers were ruined because they had to have a drink. And they have 0 tolerance for it. 0 alcohol, nothing, that was considered contraband. And Saddam would build, he would build palaces over lakes that he built.
What?
These man-made lakes that he stole water from Iran. And he would build palaces over these lakes. And he believed that any sin or atrocity that was committed over water, God couldn't see. Allah couldn't see.
What?
And so he had, I don't know how deeply we can go into this, but he had palaces. He had a particular palace built where he took the children that he would take advantage of.
Wow.
There was a palace that was just for that.
Holy cow.
And it was built over water. And he had other palaces where he would keep his concubines, and other palaces where he would do. He had like 80 of them, and he would
80?
live in palaces. And he had like 12 mosques all over Iraq, and he would pray in a different mosque every day. Several times a day they pray. And so he would pray in a different mosque every time he prayed because he thought people were following him.
Uh-huh.
And check this out. This is how deep it got. And all of those palaces, they were all fully staffed. And his staff would have to prepare meals for him in the event that he would come by.
What?
And he would not necessarily even come, but they would have meals prepared. They would have whatever he wanted prepared, and he wouldn't even come.
What did they do with the wasted food?
I don't know, but they just had to operate as if he was on his way. In all of his palaces, there was a bathroom within 10 feet or 20 feet of where you were in any room in his palace, because he was a germaphobe. So he had like bathrooms everywhere where he could wash his hands. And he also, in a couple of the palaces, the way they were built, they didn't have air conditioning. But they could somehow regulate the temperature in the room, however they did that. But there was, let's say, your job was to regulate the temperature in the grand ballroom of the palace. That's your job. And if he came into that room and it was either too cold or too hot, it was off with your head, no questions asked.
Wow, that's amazing. I don't understand. How do they go ahead and they prey on one end and then they do all these atrocities on the other? Talk about that for a minute.
I never understood it. If you look on my Facebook page, you'll see, and if you go into the Baghdad folder of my pictures, you'll see one picture in particular that has in one of the palaces that had helmets, an arch of helmets over the entranceway. And, I was curious, why all these helmets? Why all these helmets? What's with that? And we found out that those helmets were the helmets of victims that Saddam had personally decapitated.
Unbelievable.
And he had taken their helmets as trophies, and he decorated the entrance of his palace,
That's a
of this
shame.
particular palace, with the helmets of the people
Unbelievable.
he had decapitated.
That
And that
reminds me
photograph is on my page.
Wow, I'm gonna have to look for that. That reminds me of this movie. I think it's called Ghosts of Mars, and Pam Grier and Ice Cube was in it. And these weird Martian monsters, they were decapitating the astronauts and putting their heads on sticks.
You know, it was so amazing being over there and seeing all that stuff and seeing those atrocities and, you know, hearing the accounts firsthand from, you know, the general that, you know, that was taking us around, that was hosting us, because, you know, I was there with Howard Hewitt and Glenn Jones.
Okay.
And, you know, as I said, we had security clearance, so we were able to go in and just see some things that just the average man will never even hear about, let alone get to see. And I just couldn't believe it. I tried to take as many pictures as I could and post them on my site, because I just didn't think that, you know, the stories that I was coming back with would be. I just couldn't tell the story. You had to see the pictures.
Unbelievable, man.
And I didn't think people would believe me anyway. You know, he has helmets of, you know, people whose heads he decapitated. He has their helmets over his doorway. Yeah, right. So here it is.
Unbelievable.
This is the photograph of doing it, of him having done it. There was a swimming pool. There's a swimming pool in one of the palaces that we went to, and this particular palace is where Barbara Walters had done her interview from, and I want to say Walter Cronkite. It was Walter Cronkite had interviewed Saddam Hussein, and he, in this particular place, there was a swimming pool that he had, and he never put water in it. He used the pool to execute people in. Wow. And when our troops went in to raid this particular palace, he had just executed someone. And so the gentleman, as the story goes, the gentleman, you have the rail, the stairs that go down into the pool. They had handcuffed him to this particular rail, and they blew his brains out there. And the evidence of that happening, all the matter, I know this sounds gross, and this is a crazy radio interview, but all of that stuff was still there. They never even cleaned it up. So when I went to see it, it was all still there.
Oh,
except
wow.
the body was gone, but all the matter and the blood and all that kind of stuff was still there.
Nasty.
And
wow.
I just kind of, I was creeped out. It was really something to see.
That
it was really
is
something to see.
something.
And I just thought to myself, how could a mother love somebody so evil? But
there it is.
know,
there it is. Well,
he
listen,
was evil, and his mother did love him.
It's something, man. But I just hope and pray that those days go by the wayside and we can move on to a better life. And, you know, with people like you out here documenting stuff, talking about it, making light of it, because a lot of people just don't know. You know, hopefully more people be able to step up. And, I always heard this saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to stand for something, especially, good music and good people like you, man. So I just want to thank you for sharing your time with me today, man. You could have been any number of places doing any number of things, but, we got in a good bit of time today talking about a lot of stuff. I certainly hope you come back again down the line and talk about some more stuff, because you're obviously, and the world could see it, you're a very, very deep person. You're a very, very intellectual person. You're very socially conscious. So these are the people that we need more of on our planet. If you have any scientist friends, Tony, go get, give them a piece of your hair and let's get some Tony Terry clones out there, man. We need more.
That's a good one.
we need more people, standing up and just enlightening the world on stuff. And it just sounds like you're just a great, well-rounded guy. And I already know that because I've known you for a good bit of 25 years or so. And we both just constantly run into each other over and over. So we're going to lead into your current single, and folks, check it out. And Tony, if you don't mind telling folks where they can follow you, keep in touch with you, all your contact info.
Well, I'm all over the place. I'm on Instagram at Mr. Tony Terry, Twitter at Mr. Tony Terry, Facebook, The Golden Voice of R&B, and of course my website is MrTonyTerry.com. Follow me, I follow back.
Well,
Holler at me, I holler back at you.
That's great, man. Ladies and gentlemen, the Wall of Fame Wednesday show with Mr. Tony Terry. We appreciate you so much, man. God bless you. And I always like to end my show with my little saying that says to remember, God needs us all to do something good for him, but first we have to do something good for ourselves. And with you, I'm Tony Terry, and that's L.A. Jackson. But you know what I mean. I'm L.A. Jackson, and that's Tony Terry. We appreciate you, buddy. And let's go on and check out All I Need, and we'll just close out the show with that song.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I really had a good time.
Thank you, brother. Take care, and stand by.
All right, bro.
I'll be honest, I can't lie. You're all I need in my life. My heart inside never felt so right. If this is wrong, I don't wanna be right. I think of you all the time. Girl, you're always on my mind. Not a moment of the day goes by when I don't wish you were by my side. You came along and eased my pain. Girl, you know you made me whole again. I don't have to look no more. It's plain to see that your love, it completes me. Yeah, your love is all I wish for. Girl, you're just what I need. You're heaven on earth to me. Would you mind if I give you more? Take my hand and come with me to ecstasy. Your love is all I wish for. Girl, you're just what I need. You're heaven on earth to me. Yeah. Your love is what I adore. Your love is sweeter than anything. Your love is all I need. Oh, yeah. Never thought that I could feel such bliss, 'cause most my love's been hit or miss. A commitment's what I was searching for. I needed someone to give me more. You're the foreground to my background. Baby, I won't let you down. Because of you, I have no life. I thank God that you are my wife. You came and eased my pain. Girl, you know you made me whole again. It's plain to see that your love, it completes me. can't explain it. I can't explain it. I can't explain it. I just get crazy for you. I used to think that love was so silly then.